One of the most inspirational, forward-looking development meetings ever to take place in Galway in the modern era was organised in September 2021 by the Galway National Park City initiative for the benefit of the councillors and officials of Galway City Council. Chaired by Micheál Ó Cinnéide, ex-director of the Environmental Protection Agency, and formally launched by Mayor Colette Connolly, with the champions of the Galway National Park City in attendance, presentations were made by an array of world-renowned London-based developers, as well as a senior official at Cardiff Council, the chief executive of World Urban Parks and former senior government official in Australia, a former European Union official recently involved in the development of the Green Deal, and the founder of the London National Park City. All these experienced and highly respected individuals spoke of their support of the National Park City designation and the benefits that it could bring Galway.
And now we'll go to Catherine in Brussels. Catherine is one of our champions and has been, until very recently, policy coordinator for the Green New Deal at a European level. So, Catherine, you might talk to us about, in response to those talks, how does your work in the Green New Deal link back to what we're trying to do here in Galway? Over to you.
Thank you, Micheál, and good afternoon to everyone. And thanks for inviting me to say a few words on the European Green Deal and how the Galway initiative fits into that. So, of course, the European Green Deal is the first time that that environment and climate is top of the political agenda in the EU. And when you read about it, the first thing you see is that it's a growth strategy, meaning that environment and climate objectives are now really at the heart of driving economy. That's how they're seen. They're at the heart of driving the economy forward, at the heart of an essential part of economic development, rather than recently or in the past, where it was really environment and climate was something that was nice to have as long as the economy was going well. Now it's at the heart. And as it happens, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, will be giving a speech tomorrow to the European Parliament, a so-called State of the Union speech, where she talks about everything that's been done since she took office. And in advance of that speech tomorrow, there was a document published at the weekend with a summary of this. And an example given in there of development is how the retrofitting of buildings to make them energy efficient, it's estimated that it can create up to 160,000 green jobs, new additional green jobs in the construction sector. So as well as energy efficient retrofitting of buildings, as well as reducing greenhouse gas emissions, it also creates jobs, and it also helps to improve the quality of life of an estimated 34 million Europeans who can't afford to heat their homes properly. So it's just an example of development and green jobs. Now, so again, in the European Green Deal, the linchpin of it is the European Climate Law, which was agreed by all national governments in June this year, and which puts the goal of climate neutrality by 2050 in law, and an interim target of by 2030 of a decrease of at least 55% of emissions from 1990 levels. So, of course, this is a top-down approach. But this climate law has been agreed by all national governments. So now all of the EU member states, including Ireland, are taking that goal, that law, and translating it into national, regional, and local level. So where does the Galway National Park City initiative fit in? I mean, if 3/4 of Europeans are living in cities, we know that anything that's tried at a city level is going to benefit a maximum number of people. And also, because you have this concentration of people, if you take in new ideas, new approaches, you find out much quicker how they work. And so an example actually from this document I mentioned that it was published at the weekend, and which the Ursula von der Leyen will refer to tomorrow, is the Horizon program. It's a research research program in the EU, and 35% of the overall budget should now be devoted to contributing to climate objectives. But in that, and in the document, I'm going to quote from the document, there's a new action to support, promote, and showcase 100 European cities in their systematic transformation towards climate neutrality, and to make these cities into experimentation and innovation hubs for all cities. And it goes on to talk about how sustainability, needs a transformation of our mindset, but also the direct engagement of citizens. And again, I quote here, every citizen can play a role in the green transition. That's why the Commission launched a European Climate Pact, which brings together people from all walks of life and enables them to inspire and learn from each other while acting as volunteer Climate Pact ambassadors. Now, when I read that at the weekend, I thought, well, this is actually what the Galway National Park City is. It's a movement from the ground up of committed people, volunteers who are engaged in work in mapping out green spaces, the rewilding of Terryland Forest Park, the youth forum talking to children to find out what they want for Galway. And I think that the Galway National Park City initiative is an ideal complement to what the Galway City Council as the local authority is trying to achieve and is doing, for instance, in areas of waste recycling and building cycling paths and the pedestrian bridge over the Corrib, and the pollinator plan and flood prevention and all that. So I think they're a complementary, the Galway City National Park, it's a complementary initiative. Moving towards EU funding, I think that the current time is a very good time to be looking for EU funding, because many of the EU programs are now putting forward calls for proposals in this autumn, their first calls for proposals. Now, I know that the Northern and Western Regional Assembly has a hub there for information on EU funding mechanisms, and I know that some of the city councillors are members of that assembly. But the stated aim of this regional assembly is to build better places, and I think Galway is the one city in the remit of this regional assembly. So it would be very interesting to look at programs like I mentioned, the Horizon program, and this is called a Cities Mission, this new action. And there's also a European Urban Initiative, which is under the European Regional Development Fund. And there's also money in the LIFE program for environment actions and urban greening plans. So many of these programs and initiatives at an EU level are looking, as part of their requirements to get EU funding, they're looking for evidence of citizen engagement. And so just to summarize, really, the point I'd like to make is that the Galway National Park City is evidence of direct engagement of citizens. It clearly fits into a European Green Deal because it is really citizens and local authorities trying to create a Green Deal, a local Green Deal for Galway. And if, for instance, the Galway National Park City initiative were recognised by the City Council in the development plan, I would see that could be a hook to apply for EU funding, because it's recognition and it's evidence of citizen engagement. So I'll leave my contribution there and listen to what comes up afterwards in questions. Thank you.
That's great, Catherine. Gurmila Mahagat. And we look forward, perhaps when Ursula von der Leyen gives that speech tomorrow, you might send a link on that to Brendan, who could send it around to the rest of us. And we look forward to reading it.